I'm Dorothy Nygren. We're at Edgewater Historical Society. It's October 5th, 2013. And we're doing some interviews with Senn High School graduates. Thank you for doing this, Steve. Please tell us your name and address.
I'm Steve Simons. I live on Ashland Avenue now in beautiful Edgewater. But when I was a student at Senn, I lived in Uptown, my brother and my family, and I had to take the L train, which was not called the Red Line way back then. It was called Howard Inglewood Jackson Park, get on at Wilson, and get off at Thorndale and hike what was then, it seemed like such a short distance, to Glenwood, and enter Senn High School by 8:30 in the morning, and that's when first period began. And when that bell rang, you have to be in your seat, not just still at your locker taking your coat off.
Now, when did you attend Senn, Steve?
Well, I don't want you to be doing all of the arithmetic, but 1965 to 69 was Steve at Senn. There was a fence in front of the building then, which is gone now, and what is now nice green grass and a lovely looking campus used to be just mud. And I was in the ROTC all 4 years and had to be marching in the mud and listening to the commander. His rank was major, and he would be telling us left turn, right turn, and stand up straight and salute the flag. And we went through all of that and have to wear uniforms every Friday for what was called an inspection, and shine our buttons and spit shine our shoes and be looking so sharp and ready for any activities.
Now, when you were in the ROTC, Steve, you talked about having a uniform. Do you remember what that uniform looked like?
Yes, I sure do, and it wasn't very comfortable to be wearing that into my other 6 classes that I had to attend, my other 7 classes that I had to attend that given Friday. It was very uncomfortable having to wear the uniform, but it had the shiny brass buttons on the collar, and the tie, you had to wear a tie and coat, and it was quite uncomfortable. And what rank you were was shown by stripes on the shoulder. 1, 2, 3 stripes was called a private or corporal, and then you eventually would become an officer if you had a high enough grade point average. Otherwise you would never become an officer.
When you were in the ROTC, did you have to attend certain functions representing military?
Now that's a good question. We marched on Clark Street when Clark Street had no meaning to me then, any more than the corner of 53rd and Woodlawn would have mattered to me. We had to march starting on Columbus Drive, one horribly hot Memorial Day parade, and then go over a bridge that crossed over a bunch of railroad tracks, I remember, and then northbound on Michigan Avenue. We had to wait for over an hour just to begin marching from probably Balboa Drive and Michigan Avenue, and it was not fun at all. But that was part of being a member of the ROTC at Senn.
Do they have the Memorial Day parade at the cemetery when you went to Senn?
I don't know.
You don't recall marching in
at
it?
Rose Hill? No,
Yes.
I don't. I know we didn't do anything like that, no.
And what about the Broadway Armory? Were you ever there in your Senn capacity?
No.
Okay. Let's share some other recollections with the folks. Do you have any memories of favorite teachers?
Yes, I do. And there's one teacher I want to mention his name. He is very much possibly responsible for my entire career following Southern Illinois University, which of course followed Senn High School, and that's Mr. Carl Geis. He got permission from the Board of Education probably 1 year before I took his class called Computer Math. And we learned computer programming, Fortran programming, flow charting logic, how to handle punched cards, which were designed by Herman Hollerith. Very few people know that now. And of course, there's no such thing as key punch machines and tab cards anymore with 80 columns, and 2 little punches represents each letter of the alphabet. But thanks to Mr. Geis, I was accepted at SIU and went for 2 years to get an associate degree there, and then began working at University of Illinois, which now is called UIC, and there was no such thing as UIC when Steve started working there at Harrison and Halstead. And I want to thank Mr. Geis for teaching that class called Computer Math, because it led to me being accepted at Southern in Carbondale, and then getting my
Your future
resume was just perfect apparently for what the job position was at University of Illinois.
You mentioned that that was one of your favorite classes. Were there other favorite classes that you wanted to share?
Mr. Geist taught us algebra in my freshman year, and then my senior year was computer math, and then another teacher, Mr. Zeckelman, taught us physics, and art and music were fun, but those are minors. Those subjects are called minors, as opposed to you have to be taking 4 majors every year, including English, which, oops, I hated.
Now, what about the art and music? You said you really enjoyed those.
Yes.
What was enjoyable about those?
In music, we listened to phonograph records with one big monaural speaker mounted on the wall in the corner of the classroom. People would laugh at such a thing now. They don't even know what a phonograph record is, a 33 LP. They don't even know what is that. They know only iTunes and a computer and an iPod. But we learned about George Gershwin and American in Paris, and there were other famous compositions that we learned about.
Were you in any clubs at Senn?
Yes, I was. That's another good topic. There was a Senn social committee, and I think it was like one Friday evening per month. Mr. Pestersky, who was a history teacher, modern European history to be exact, he was in charge of the social committee, and I was in charge of checking coats, which sounds like something you would just laugh at, but it was a big responsibility, in room 105, which is still there today, but it's all redone now, part of the science lab that's currently at Senn. And it was my responsibility to get assistants to issue the sequence numbered tags for people to check their coats, and there was lots of coats and sweaters and things. After all, it was wintertime during the school year. And another topic is the language lab. I took Spanish for 2 years, and the reason why did Steve take Spanish? So that I could get out of taking biology and still get the credit for that. But the language lab had 5 reel-to-reel tape recorders in drawers, and again, people nowadays don't even know what a reel-to-reel tape recorder is. But when I walked into the language lab the first time, I was just overwhelmed, thrilled, because my brother and I each had a reel-to-reel tape recorder capable of stereo music playbacks.
Now, did you make any lifelong friends when you were at Senn that you can recall?
Actually, yes. His name is Wayne Mann, and I had lost track of him over the years, and then by chance he recognized me sitting in McDonald's at the corner of Clark and Bryn Mawr, and I don't know how he recalled me 40-some years later, but yes, that's someone who I know currently. You're right.
Now, looking back at your experience at Senn, how did that enrich you, make you the person you are today?
I'm thankful that I was able to go there, and I'll have to say, from what I hear in the news now and what's going on in the neighborhood, it was quite a different place back then, and we were allowed to go out to lunch. I don't know we did not have armed police officers in the hallways. Now I'm guessing that I don't know what conditions are like there now. It's only what we hear in the news, and of course other high schools have different problems and different responsibilities to be trying to keep people safe and things in order.
Are there any other recollections about Senn you'd like to share with us that I didn't ask you? If you can't think of any right now, we can always come back and add on to this later, if you'd like.
Yes.
So at this time, I'm going to conclude the interview. Thank you so much, Steve, for sharing your experiences with us.
You're very welcome.